Hey guys, it's let me get to I want to bring up Devin's video here. He's in Texas, so he's an hour behind, and so I gave him the link. We'll see when he jumps on board here. So just hang tight. He'll be jumping on board. I think we shall see. We're emailing back and forth. He said once he has gets done with dinner and I think he said put the kids to bed, he'll be able to jump on board. So let's Devin Carroll. Let me bring up his channel because I want right here. All right, there we go. All right, because all right, good. So a couple things. We just all right, good. All right, so we'll find out when he joins us here. All right, so Deb says, I will watch and wait to hear what he has to say. Thank you, Josh, for having him on. No, I'm hoping he jumps on here. That's for sure. And I said, just come on whenever you can, dude. And he says, fine. So we shall see. How do I want to start this? Devin's video talked about not only is Joe Biden gonna raise the payroll tax on people making over $400,000, which actually in of itself is not as bad as I thought it was going to be, because the Democrats have wanted to raise the payroll tax on everybody forever. So there's this donut between, I think it's 140 roughly. Once you make 140, you don't pay the Social Security part of the FICO, so you don't pay the 6.2. And Sniffy Joe was going to say once you make over 400, and I can't remember if he said if it's married filing jointly or just total income. I don't remember, but we'll just say once you make 400, you'll go back to Social Security taxes. Now the problem, and this is where I said in my email, if you're not on my email thing, you need to be. I said FDR would be rolling over in his grave, because FDR, the premise of Social Security was always to get it as an earned benefit. His whole contingency was that people won't respect it and support it if they think it's a welfare payment. Now, the problem is that Sniffy Joe is saying we're going to make it so, again, this is a proposal. It's not law yet, but knowing where the Democratic Party is today, I think it's pretty bad. So what happens is Sniffy Joe is saying that if you make over 400, you're going to pay more in Social Security tax, but you're not going to get any more of a benefit. It's a complete taking from those people to these people. And it absolutely violates everything. Yeah. Speaking of Dan, did you all see Steve Crowder's video today? Yeah. So let's not pretend that there's no shenanigans that went on. I don't know if y'all saw his video today, but he laid it out. He had people going around Nevada and Detroit who said, this house voted, these people in this house voted, and there was no house. It was all fake. It was like a grass field. It was nuts. And there's just tons of them. And I guarantee if I did the same here in Fulton County, we get the same thing. So if you haven't seen this Crowder live stream, or not, I guess it is a live stream today, it's not debatable. The problem, of course, is the Supreme Court didn't want to take. It's like, I don't want to hear it. If I don't hear it, then I don't have to pay attention. That's what happened. And as long as they didn't have to hear it, didn't have to pay attention, which means they don't have to vote on it or make a decision on it. It's just freaking scumbag. I'm just so pissed, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just checking my email, see if Devin emails me back here. All right, so we'll see when he jumps on. Yeah, he was going around Detroit, and that was just Detroit, Vegas. I guarantee. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll go around Fulton County and just show you. There's no. Here's freaking Joe Smith. Oh, weird. Joe Smith vote. He lives in a freaking a grass field. Does he have a tent here or something? The whole thing's nuts, man. All right, so I want to be clear. What the Democrats want to do, or Sniffy, is to increase benefits, but to have the benefits right on. So David says it right on. This is what Devin talked about. He said the Democrats want to increase benefits and to increase taxes on those people. And it would only give, and this is the Urban Institute, and Devin is more what's the word I'm looking for? Tactical? No. Less boisterous than I am in terms of the Urban Institute is not a leaning left. They're a left-wing organization without question. Left-wing, bar none. And even the Urban Institute, diplomatic. Devin's a lot more diplomatic than I. But even the Urban Institute said Joe Biden's taxes or increases in taxes plus the benefits he wants to give to people will only make Social Security solvent for another 5 years. And that doesn't fix anything other than give people more welfare, because it's a welfare transfer payment. And Social Security is not supposed to be a transfer payment. It's supposed to be an earned benefit. I cannot stress this enough. The difference between an entitlement where you just show up at the welfare office, say, give me a check, I'm Josh, and I got no money, give me, versus I freaking earned this. You see what I'm saying? Now, Vinyl said, well, not that many people make over 400,000. Dude, that is so, oh my goodness, man. Yeah. That's such a okay, we're done here. Come on, Vinyl. It doesn't matter. It's a tiny amount of people. Do you not see what is happening here? The minute they change the benefit to take from somebody who says you do not get more benefit based on the taxes you pay, regardless of who that is, and give it to other people who get more benefit regardless of the taxes they pay, that changes the dynamics of the system. And it's easy to say, oh, 400,000. Hell, we're going to go to 300,000. We're going to go to 200,000. Or what the Democrats have always wanted, there'll be everyone pays 6.2 on every single dollar that they earn. And as such, but they'll limit how much you can make from Social Security to say 3,000 a month. It's almost going to be like a highly compensated employee, a non-discriminatory 401k plan, where they say, oh, the HCEs can only contribute so much. But Social Security, the HCEs in this regard, would be contributing everything for the benefit of people that didn't contribute that much. Now, in some regards, kind of like that, but it's not really, because there is a bend point. There's a numerical system that says if you pay this into it, this is the benefit you receive, bar none. But in that case, if we give people on this side more of a benefit to take from these people on this side and they don't get an increased benefit, that's a taking. And that's an entitlement program. No other way around that. And I tell you, as someone, I've got to keep checking my email to see. All right. Just let me keep checking here. All right. So I'm gonna email Devin to tell him we're on here. All right. Hold on just a second. All right. And so what happens is that the more you go to transfer payments and welfare benefits, the less support you're going to have for Social Security, the more it's going to be it's just going to create this dichotomy that's going to further drive people apart. Because people say, man, why is your Social Security 3,000? Mine's only 2,000. And that's where Devin was kind of talking about the flat benefit, which I don't. I mean, who knows anymore? Hold on just a second. Let me email him. Oh, there we go. Oops. I mean, who knows anymore, man? But if they can get away with this, where does it stop? If that makes sense. And that's hold on. All right, cool. All right, so my concern, frankly, is where we're going in this relative to the overall. And in my email I sent to you all today, I talked about someone who texted me how they went to one state in the Northeast in 5 miles. So if they weren't here, they live in this one state. They went through this state, which is a safe zone, and they were 5 miles into this other state. All right. So this other state, because they're 5 miles in there, they came back, and then the kids happened to say just off the cuff, to the teachers, oh yeah, we went to this state. And the teacher said, oh, that's a no travel zone. We got to quarantine you. And so they marched them out of class. Children marched out of class. My phone ringing? Huh. What was that? I keep hearing something beeping, but I don't know what it could possibly be. What the hell is that? Anyway, so they got marched out of class in order to go to the freaking to the principal, who said the principal said, hey, because you went to this state, you got to quarantine yourself for 14 days or whatever it was. And they said, unless it was unavoidable travel, which apparently it wasn't because you took the family. If it's unavoidable travel, you only had to quarantine for 3 to 5 days, and then we give you a COVID test. If you came up negative, you could come back. That's nuts. The point being is we've allowed the bureaucrats and the tyrants to take over, these little, these little Karens of the world and whatnot, and what they call them for men, Chads, something like that, to take over. And as such, there's no stopping them now. And so what's going to happen here, all it takes is, frankly, is to say, freaking Sniffy Joe say, we are going to raise taxes on these guys in order to benefit these guys. And what they're going to do is going to be becoming more and more a Venezuela-like state. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. I mean, I'm not. Oh, there's Devin. Hey, right on. So, all right, cool. Devin.
Hey, Josh.
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you being here. Got a lot of worried people, man. Your video, rightly so, actually. And again, everybody, this is Devin, and as I said in my email today, if you're not subscribed to Devin's stuff, you're wrong. You don't got a video, a book behind you. Your Social Security basic book. Do you there? You can show everybody.
I don't. No, not here at the home office. I don't. Okay. These are actually, this isn't a prop behind me like it is in the other place.
Right on, man. So that the other place is your literally office. This is your.
It is.
Oh God.
Yeah.
How far away is your office from your home?
It's about a 15-minute drive.
Oh man.
Yeah. So not bad.
And you're in northwest or northeast Texas, right? Texarkana area.
Yep. Right on the border of Arkansas.
Did you get hammered in the cold, or what happened?
Well, we weren't actually in town, but they got 18 inches of snow here, which is just unprecedented for our area. Lakes froze up that have, never even really had much ice on them. It was insane.
I mean, do they even have were they able to? Is that area prepared at all for? Because I don't know why you would be, but were they just like, what the hell do we do? You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly what happened. Now, we were out of town. We were actually in an area that also got snow, but where we were, it's, as some of your viewers can identify with, it seemed like every other guy had a 4-wheel drive with a plow on the front. And so they had those roads cleared off very quickly where I was. But so, yeah, we just kind of hung out there and then came back once everything cleared up.
How many kids do you have, Devin?
Say that again.
How many kids do you have?
Well, I have 3.
Oh, was that the first time they'd ever seen snow?
No. We've had snow. It's just never been anywhere close. Anywhere close.
Man.
Yeah, crazy though.
Still on the ground there, or is it?
No, just places where it was plowed up, and yeah. But
man, my kids are jonesing for snow. They're like, "Why are we getting any?" I said,
"No, thank you."
Moving back to Maine.
Yeah,
that's where I'm from. I'm from Maine, but anyway, I said, "Yeah, trust me." Once I was just talking to a guy today, we're walking by, and he's from Wisconsin, and I said, "Man, the problem with snow up there is it never goes away. It stays the whole winter time. You get some snow down here, it's pretty, and it'll be melting a couple of days, but up there is like there for 4 months. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, that's all, Devin. So awesome. So everybody knows Devin. Again, Devin Carroll has got a YouTube channel. Sign up for his email list, and so Devin had done a couple of videos recently just about Joe Biden's proposals and whatnot, and some of those were not as what's the word I'm looking for, as worrisome, frankly, for me at least. I said, yeah, I get some of this, but this one today really sat with me, and maybe it just caught me, Devin, because I was telling him I had a guy or a lady text me today about they live in a state in the Northeast, and they essentially they're in this state. They go through this state in order to take a weekend vacation in this state. They're literally 5 miles over the border. And as such, they come back to their home state, and one of the children says to the teacher, "Hey, we were happy to be in this state for a 3-day weekend," and everybody just panicked. "Whoa, stop the ship. We got a principal came down, walked these kids out of class, that it'd be quarantined for 14 days because this state right here is not safe. And because COVID knows that if you pass, if you stay within the border, you're safe," if that makes sense. The point being, everything is up in the air today, everything, including Social Security, which is your area of expertise. And the idea that Social Security could come to an end, and no one's making a prediction, but what you said about the Urban Institute going over Joe Biden's proposal, only giving it 5 more years of solvency, and these are left-wing groups,
right?
That's not good, man. So give people the background of what, just go ahead, man. Take the mic and run with it if you don't mind.
Yeah. So it wasn't that long ago that I did a video on my channel. I can't remember what the title of it was. Something like, how Joe Biden plans to change Social Security. And I went over the changes. Yeah. And I just realized right before I released that video today, Josh, that I actually covered that Urban Institute report in that video. But for some reason, it didn't sink in with me. Yeah. So throughout all of this snow, where we were, you still couldn't get out that as much as normal. So I spent a lot of time kind of sitting in a chair in front of the fire reading. And that Urban Institute report was one that crossed my radar again. And I was reading it and I realized, wait a minute. If Social Security, if the trust fund is out of money again in 2040, and they've already fired the magic bullet of raising taxes on the wealthiest, what's left to do? Right. What are they going to do at that point? Are they going to come back to that well and say, "Sorry, guys, we've got to raise your taxes yet again"? It's not going to be as much of an option at that point. You've already raised those taxes. So, I sat there and I thought, okay, what are some possibilities? What are some scenarios? And Josh, I couldn't think of any. I can't sit there and think of any that were workable. I mean, besides saying, okay, well, look, we're going to have to make this a means tested system. Yeah. We're going to have to transition this to a program that you get it if you need it and only if you need it. Because they're already, if you listen closely, they're already starting to make the noise of, the wealthiest out there don't really need this benefit. And some people would disagree with me and they'll get upset with me when I say this. But the truth is the heart and the intent of the program is an anti-poverty benefit. Yeah. So to say that the wealthy don't need it is technically accurate. It wasn't created for the wealthy, but neither was paying 12.4% in payroll taxes. Exactly. There's a 1936 pamphlet from the Social Security Administration that clearly says that the most you will ever pay is 6%. And they break it down 3% for the employee, 3% for the employer. It's black and white. And yet here we are, not only with the 12.4% rate, more than twice what they said would be the maximum, but we're also dealing with a much higher wage base that tax is imposed on. So, we have this system that has grown tremendously.
Well, it's interesting too. You said it was like from 1950, it was like what, 2% of the entire budget, and now it's like 25% or something like that. That's just Social Security. You're not talking about Medicare.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So in 1940, it was 0.29%, and it started growing beyond that. Survivor benefits came in. There were some other things that came in, and now it's 23% of the federal budget. Social Security is 23%
of the federal budget.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an insane amount of spending that's done here because the program has just grown and it's grown and it's grown and it's gotten larger and larger. And we're to the position now to where there's not enough revenue to support this massive program. So they'll be able to get by with a few more years of increases, but I really don't know what's going to happen in 2040.
Is he even talking about raising the payroll tax on just regular earners making $60,000 a year, or just? Or is there no payroll tax increase other than that donut hole for $400,000?
Yeah. So the plan that I've seen so far is just the $400,000 so far. But here's the thing: the $400,000 is not going to move right? So the wage base that we have now, the 142,000 and change, is tied to the average wage index.
Right.
And we are going to see it start to move higher.
Yeah.
And eventually it will catch the 400,000 until everyone on all of their wages are subject to the full payroll tax.
Similar to AMT. Remember the AMT? And when they first passed AMT, it was only like 300 families. And then, hell, I got hit with AMT 2 years ago. So if they don't raise the payroll tax, I mean, I'm not talking about the 400,000, but I'm just curious. Any thoughts? See, I've always thought, Devin, I still, I mean, just some basic calculations, but I said, look, if they raise the payroll tax, I think I said 50 basis points on each side. I forgot what I said, but anyway, something like that. So it's instead of 12 or 6.2 is 6.7 or 6.5. I forgot. Anyway, something like that. That would be pretty good in terms of making it solvent, but everyone would have to pay, not just the rich people. Is that any thoughts on just your own thought? I don't even know if you thought about this, but just off the cuff, if they raise the payroll tax on everybody, because the thing that annoys me about this, Devin, is those people over there, they should pay more, so I have a bigger benefit. And that actually pisses me off because we can use that for everything. Those people over there have 3 bedrooms. I only have 2. See what I'm saying? This is where we go down to this scary, anyone who studied the Russian history of communism can get very scared by this. And I'm not trying to be a fear monger because, you can't be a fear monger. I got 4 kids. You have 3 kids. Inherently, you're going to be optimistic. But with that said, as we go to this, those people, I have less than them, thus give me some of that. That's a kind of frightening thing. And I just think FDR would say, no, you have to contribute to get the benefit. And if they're not being called to the mat to say you got to pay in more, but they're going to get a bigger benefit, I don't like that. Any thoughts on that?
So, when the system was first introduced, the original Social Security Act actually didn't have any payroll tax cap in it at all. In the original plan that FDR put together. And then they came back and they said, no, we've got to have a payroll tax cap. But the system originally, at some point, I would love to get into the history of Social Security and maybe even write a book on it and talk about some of the arguments that were going back and forth. But, I don't know that anyone besides you and I and maybe a few of our mutual audience members would be that interested in that. But it's really fascinating. There was stuff going on. I'm going off the rails now.
Right.
But there was a senator from Louisiana, Huey Long.
Yeah.
And Senator Long had this audacious plan that will let you know just how long socialism has been alive and well in the States.
Yeah.
And there are recordings of him standing in front of the Senate, making a speech about how he believes that anyone with means over a certain amount should have to give all of that back.
Yeah.
And this massive, we're talking about in the early 1930s here.
Yeah.
And it was part of his push, and I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was part of his push that made FDR come up with his own plan.
Yeah.
And that his own plan was Social Security. And they started moving that through the system. And at first it didn't have a wage base. And then they came out with a wage base because of the people who would be covered by Social Security. And so it was some interesting history there. But as far as what we think may happen, with interest rates, I think 15.3% is the interest rate that I've seen would have to be, if we moved the payroll tax rate from, and maybe it was 15.6, I can't remember. If we moved it from 12.4 up to 15.6 immediately, that would long-term fix the issue.
Under the intermediate assumptions.
Yeah, so that is under the intermediate assumptions. And so that means, though, that everyone would have to pay that increased tax, and they're just not going to do that. They are not going to do that. The whole reason that they've picked $400,000 as a number for saying this is where the payroll tax kicks back in is because when they look at the percentage of individuals that have earnings in excess of the taxable cap, there's about 6% of all workers that have earnings above that.
Okay.
1% of all workers have earnings above 400,000. So they started looking at earnings and they figured out, okay, where's that 1% line?
1%.
Okay, here's the 1% line.
Yeah, right.
And so let's pick on these guys because it just doesn't make up a large enough block of voters to really matter. And so that's really where the 400,000 mark came from. So here we are. But eventually, make no mistake, it's going to apply to everyone on all of your wages.
Yeah. So exactly, because it's not being adjusted for inflation. But with that said, do you think they'll actually raise the payroll tax on just everybody? I mean, you think that not even a quarter point or anything? You think
well, I mean, who knows what'll be worked out in negotiation, right? But there are some perfectly logical fixes that have been proposed out there that they won't even consider because the way they propose it, right? So, for example, indexing full retirement age to life expectancy, and everything else is indexed within the Social Security system. Why is full retirement age not indexed? It's not, and yet we have life expectancies that are much longer, but we're still dealing with the same early age of eligibility that we were back in either the 50s or 60s when age 62 was put into place.
They don't want to index life expectancy. That's no one's talking about saying, hey, we want to have your full retirement age be 70 instead of 67. I mean, it was like pulling teeth to get them pushed out to 67. You know what I'm saying? So no one's making.
Yeah. And it would make a lot of sense to raise the full retirement age as well. It truly would. But the problem you're going to have is that's construed as a benefit cut.
Yes.
And those magic words you can never utter as a politician or have uttered about you. Because if you take the full retirement age and you raise it from 67 to say 68, for that individual who still files at 62, they will now receive a lower benefit than they did when that full retirement age was 67. So that's going to be tilted and viewed as a benefit cut.
How'd they get the change on the full retirement age anyway? I know they pushed it forward 20 years ago or something like that, but was that a voted on, or was it just like a blue ribbon task force? Or I mean, was it congressional approval that needed to say we need to change it, or how did that happen?
Yeah, it was part of the 1983 amendments.
Oh, even the one in 1983 to push to get the 66 to go to 67 for the full retirement age.
Well, yeah, so that was part of the 1983. Yeah, it took 22 years to be implemented.
So I mean, even if we pass something legislatively, they're going to say for the next 15 years, no changes. But those people, our grandkids essentially will maybe have a full retirement age at 70, as opposed to, and by then, hell, who knows? But we'll all be speaking Mandarin or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I don't think Social Security is going to be here in the form we.
Well, that's what I want to talk about. So one of the things you had said was it'll be a transfer. Well, you didn't say this. You said it'd be a welfare payment. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but what else could it be construed as? I mean, literally, what else could it be if it's not an earned benefit? You want to talk about that?
So a lot of people find the language I use here lately to be alarmist, to be negative, and I get that. And Josh, just being familiar with your content, I would say that maybe even a year ago, you may have given me a hard time about some of this, but the last year has proven one thing for sure. Yeah. And that is anything can change.
Man, that's in my defense. I will tell you, I've always been an advocate of Social Security, from learning from you, but what happened this last year is, just has said everything. It's one of those things. It's just like, damn, no one saw this coming, and anything it's not. Anyway, keep going, Devin. I will say, who would have thought? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. So I know a lot of people are taking issue with the tone that I'm bringing to some of these videos, but here's the thing. I truly think that I do see that iceberg coming ahead. And I'm going to shout about it until either the ship starts turning, which I don't think it will because my voice isn't loud enough to reach the captains. But as if I can scream loud enough to get people to put on life vests, then I'm going to do that. Because we are in a situation where I think there's a lot of folks that's my age and younger that somehow think Social Security is going to be here for them. And
the way it's through right now. And I mean, there'll be something, but it won't be what we're anticipating probably.
Yeah. Who knows what 45.
Okay, so basically in your mid 40s, or I'm 50, so basically in your mid 40s or below, when you hit 62, the Social Security system, well, that'll be that'll be 16, that'll be 17 years now. 2040, we're creeping up on right around when the Urban Institute says. Real quick, someone asked what for the 5 years. So basically, we have until 2034, 2035, 2032 for Social Security to burn through its assets, and then it's running as a deficit. And Joe Biden's thing, we'll just say 2035, folks. The Urban Institute would give him 5 years more solvency before Social Security says we can't afford $1. We can only afford 78 cents. And don't forget, Urban Institute is very left, so they're very keen on Joe Biden. And so if they're saying it's only 5 years, it's probably even less than that, frankly. So anyway, go ahead. So you think by the time you are approaching it, it'll be a whole different
I do. I think that because I see no path forward. After when we get to 2040 and we're looking at benefit cuts again and we're having to make fixes, I see no path forward other than to start turning it into a means tested system. I just don't see any way around it.
Can they take assets from the general fund and just say, all right, forget payroll taxes, which I think is the only equitable way to do it, but they're not going to do it. I get it. And they're not going to change their full retirement age. I get that too. But could they just say, hey, we're going to have, Warren Buffett, he makes $1 billion in dividend income. We're going to raise that income instead of qualified dividend income. We're going to raise it to ordinary income tax and put that into Social Security, something like that. I mean, I don't know. Is there a way they could get it from the general fund as opposed to just straight on payroll taxes?
Yeah. So, a couple of things. If we're talking about the taxation of some of the investment income for Social Security purposes, that could change, but that's as you know, Josh, that's another big conversation there about the fallout that would come from starting to tax some of the investment income. But as far as taking, we come up to 2034, 2035, whatever it is, and we say, okay, there's a deficit here. We need to take money from the general fund. As the law is currently written, that can't happen.
Yeah, right.
There's the Anti-Deficiency Act that says that the federal government cannot borrow when the appropriation is not there. And so that would prevent any money coming from the general fund into Social Security to pay out benefits. So the law would have to be changed. We've seen the law change plenty of times. Right. And I don't think that's much of a step, right? For them just to come in and say, all right, the law's changing. But that certainly would get into violating some of the basic foundational tenets of Social Security.
It's going back to what I just said. I mean, the issue is if Social Security, if it's a transfer payment as opposed to earned benefit, it changes the whole dynamic. The means testing, it seems to be inevitable. What do you think would be the means testing? Like if you make over 100,000, I mean, you don't have to give the numbers, but means testing, if you make over X, you don't get as much of a benefit unless you make under X. Is that kind of what you're thinking would be?
Well, they already do a pretty good job of that with Medicaid, some of these other programs. Now, as you well know, there's a lot of ways to game that, and a lot of people are gaming that.
Yep.
But I haven't seen any studies that suggest what the impact would be, and I'd be interested to see these. But there's really already a system in place of means testing. There's really multiple systems in place of means testing within Social Security. One of which is Social Security taxation. And that's all Social Security tax is. Now, we're not talking about the payroll tax. We're talking about the income taxes that you pay when you receive your benefit. Because if you have enough other income, you have to give more of your Social Security back in taxes. And those taxes don't get put into the general fund. They actually get put back into the Social Security trust fund. So that's one thing. They could manipulate some of the income tax rates in there, just to effectively say, if you have this much income, you're going to have to pay this extraordinarily high interest rate or income tax rate. The other thing they could do is they could simply say that, here's a new earnings limit in perpetuity. You know, so if you have more than X number of dollars in earnings, you don't get a Social Security benefit. Sorry. And at that point, you know, that's as much of a means test as I can think of. And guess what? That system is already in place. It's there. It's only tied though to income and not to an asset test.
That is the strategy. But I don't think the government's not that stupid to say, oh, we're not looking at assets. I mean, see what I'm saying? It's like, you can be poor on paper. It's why I articulate all the time. Be poor on paper when it comes to retirement. That way, none of your Social Security benefits taxed. But you can still have assets, if that makes sense. But I don't think the government is that stupid to be ignorant of the asset base that you have out there. So it seems to me it's just a matter of where the votes are, man. And if the votes are, that's why the 400,000 up just magically is the 1%. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. It's who's shocking. So Biden said he was going to get rid of WEP, get rid of GPO. What do you say? Increased benefits to be where no one would be poverty. What are some of his things here? So we got the taxation, and that plus the benefit increases would only give us 5 more years. What are some of the benefit increases he's talking about, Devin?
Well, some of those are fairly clear, but some of them are not all that clear. One of them is to increase survivors' benefits. I've covered that in a video where they're going to take a weighted average of the individual who is deceased and the individual who's still alive and combine their benefits if it's not more than a certain amount. The other thing is to increase the minimum benefit. There's a minimum benefit out there for people who have worked so many years that they're guaranteed a basic minimum benefit. And then if you've received benefits more than 20 years, then you're going to get a bump up in your income amount.
Not a one-time thing. It'd be like a permanent, like, hey, you're 85 years old. We're going to give you an extra $500 a month or something like that.
Yep. And then the WEP and GPO, that's not clear at all how he plans to do away with that. But I frankly don't expect that to be just a complete wipeout of the WEP and GPO. In the past, when they've talked about getting rid of the WEP, especially, they've talked about replacing it with the public service fairness formula. And so I suspect that would come back in. But, all the academic papers that are talking about these changes, they don't make any mentions of this at all. And the funny thing is, well, it's not really funny and it's predictable. If you look at the way the media is reporting on this already, they're talking about, this is how Social Security is going to get saved. There's this grand plan in place.
Right.
But they're failing to mention that it's going to save it for 5 years. I mean, let's not even waste our time.
And on top of that, it's going to make it worse.
Yeah, right.
2041 is going to be worse than we are today because we promise more benefits and we don't have the revenue to support it.
Yep.
So then we're sitting there thinking, like you said, it's kind of like the Federal Reserve. They can only lower interest rates so much. And at some point, you shot your freaking firearm. There's no more bullets.
That's it. It's gone. The Heritage Foundation, Rochelle Gressler had an interesting take on how to fix it. And I think maybe Andrew Biggs at the American Enterprise Institute covered this first back in 2013, where he talked about a universal Social Security benefit. And that, when you say that automatically reeks of extremely liberal politics.
Right.
Just the word universal in there.
Universal income, universal health care. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people just, they automatically put the walls up and they say, I'm not even listening now. I don't want to hear anymore. But I think that this may be worth listening to at least and considering as an option. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of universal Social Security at all.
Yeah, the universal. What was Biggs's? I've interviewed him a couple of times actually. And I like Andrew Biggs. I'm a big fan of AEI. But I'm not familiar with the basis of his basics of the universal Social Security.
Yeah. So the basics of it is, if you I'll have to get into the weeds for just a moment here, but if you take the bend point formula and you drop the last 2 pieces out of it, the piece that credits your benefit at 32% and the piece that credits your benefit at 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Those are gone. And then you take the first band, and instead of a 90% crediting rate, that's 112% crediting rate. And that's all there is to it. It's just you get credited at the lowest band of that PA or that bend point at 112%. And that is still set to grow with inflation. Right?
Wait, you're getting rid of the 15 and 32% bend points. How would that not be a huge increase, right? I don't get it. I mean, would there be a maximum that you could get or something like that? Like, I mean, if you're getting 112% of your AIME, I don't get how that'd be. That seems like
Yeah. So remember so they're still going to calculate the average index monthly earnings the same way they do now.
Right.
But it's only going to be credited on the first, $900, and that's going to average up.
I got you. So I see what you're saying. So basically, they're saying you get 112% of $950, whatever it is.
Yep. That's it.
And everything else is gone.
Yep.
Yep.
So here's what I hate about that plan. There's no way around it. That's more of a welfare plan.
Yes.
Than what we have now, for sure. But the people who are going to fight against that and say, there's no way I'd ever accept a plan like that, there's no way I could get behind a plan like that, well, get ready.
Right.
Because I think what we're eventually going to have to accept is going to be even worse than that.
Ooh.
And so that's why I would look at the universal Social Security and say, wait a minute, I think this may be worth a second look.
I mean, hold on, keep talking, Devin. I want to get my calculator to give a 950. Let's just say your first bend point's 950, and you times that by 112. By 950 times 1.12. That'd be $1,000 a month. Oh man, and so, but that just gotta get a grasp of. So I guess what they say is, Andrew say there'd be just one bend point. You'll probably raise that bend point to 2,000, 2,000 or something like that, and you'll get 112% of the 2,000. So everyone's essentially getting $2,200. I'm like, okay. Anyway, keep going, Devin. I just had to grasp.
So effectively, what it's doing is it is returning the system back to an anti-poverty benefit.
Anti-poverty, right? Yeah. Except they're taxing a hell of a lot more, though. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. But it's not meant to be an income replacement, and it would take years and years for that to fully phase in, because the way those last two bend points would drop off would be very gradually.
Yeah.
And then once it's phased in, according to the Heritage Foundation and the analysis they did of this plan, payroll tax rates could actually be dropped from 12.4% to 10.3%.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. Is like, if that in of itself, as long as the tax rates are reduced, I'm fine with that. But I mean, not that you and me, Devin, are going to make a difference in this, but just at the end of the day, I'm sitting there thinking, hell, man, they're going to freaking spend that money because they're going to give more benefits to people. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, I as long as it's kind of like George, you might not know this, but George H.W. Bush, the reason he lost his re-election is because he went along with, we increase taxes by $1, we'll reduce spending by $2. They increased the taxes and they didn't reduce the spending. You see what I'm saying? The same damn thing would happen here, I guarantee. But what you're saying is that might be bad, but it's going to be even worse.
Right. Yeah. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of that, but that's.
I mean, it's water under the bridge. I mean, if you be fans or not, at the end of the day, the facts are, though, the issue is something. See, this is what if you actually, and I know you did, but if you actually looked at the freaking Social Security Trustees report, it had those three: the intermediate, the high, and the low. You know what I'm saying? And you got to pick and choose kind of. But it's like we had 3.5% unemployment up until this insanity of last year. And the intermediate was like 5.5%. Yeah, I think the low was 4.5%. And I'm thinking, if we have all these extra people working and we're having a demographic time bomb, which means they're going to have, anyway, the whole point was, you say, wait a second, man. If people are working and there's no reason to expect unemployment to go up, we should be good to go. Just raise the payroll tax a little bit, done. But then kaboom. And and now we're sitting here not only having to deal with low, not mass unemployment, but a hell of a lot of people unemployed. But Joe Biden wants to raise benefits across the board. And we don't have the money to pay for it, even if he gets his tax increases in. And someone here said, it just gives you more reason to save more. I actually think it's different, Devin. I think people need to really start getting hold of their spending. I think, saving's fine, but you can only there's only so much water in that rock, you know what I'm saying? And at some point you got to look at your consumption and kind of go back to that way to maybe lower your consumption, as opposed to just saying, I'm gonna keep spending like a drunken sailor and just saving more. Because if Social Security starts going this way, what's to say the markets are going to participate? I mean, I just look at Japan, you know what I'm saying? And the Japan markets are horrible for the last 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's, now that they may be finally getting what they want and hitting that, siphoning off of the rich people to see what they actually are going to do with that money is pretty interesting. And I've just been sitting here thinking, okay, I don't care if I make people mad and they unsubscribe to my channel, but I'm going to get on here and talk about it. And I don't want to talk about it as long as it continues to be news too.
Well, it's always, and the problem that we have here is Social Security is a fully solvent one compared to Medicare. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so not to pin you down here, but what's your just overall looking here? You know what I'm saying? So you're a 45-year-old guy, your wife, you got some kids and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're sitting here. Look, man, it's easy to be doom and gloom. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I don't trust politicians as far as I could kick them. That's from Ted Cruz all the way up to Joe Biden. But with that said, I mean, what are you saying? Your just overall thoughts, like with Social Security. I mean, obviously, someone who's coming up in the system now, I mean, that's not going to. I wouldn't think that's going to change. Would you? I mean, they're probably going to be situated pretty good relative to the current plan, don't you think, or what?
Yeah. I think if someone is certainly, if someone is retired now or they're close to retirement age, I don't think there's going to be any issues with the benefits payable to them. I just don't. When they make these changes, they make them where they're not felt for years, and that way. Yeah. It doesn't impact, their time in office and the votes that they'll receive. That's one of the reasons that you saw it take so long to increase full retirement age from the 1983 amendments. They just didn't want to impact their voting base. So no, I think it would take a while to do that. And they would probably be able to get money from the general fund with a simple law change to be able to serve as a bridge to get them there. But I'm going to tell you, I think my advice to anyone that's my age and younger is if you're going to save for your own retirement, meaning you're going to have assets, then you need to plan for your retirement as if Social Security is not going to be there. And that's not always been the approach that I've had.
No,
it hasn't.
Me either.
But I'm pretty sure that in the future, we are going to be looking at a welfare system, period.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. Do you, how about someone who's coming in now, like 60, would you recommend they reconsider maybe filing early, or any changes in that in your mind, Devin?
I don't think it changes filing strategy because even if it's a benefit cut, right? Whether they get 100% of their benefit cut or 70% of their benefit cut, we're still looking at benefit cuts unless they fix it. So I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. And I see those comments quite often in my YouTube channel where people say, well, I'm going to go ahead and file then in case that happens. I think that's a bad strategy.
Yeah, me too. I completely agree. I think a lot of people think, well, I'll be grandfathered in. I said, look, man, I'm not, they're not going to get the current voters. They're just not. I mean, I just always say, just look at Dan Rostenkowski, people. Anyone knows Dan Rostenkowski? They don't get you today. They get you 20 years from now, because by then the politicians are long gone. You see what I'm saying? Hey, I appreciate jumping on here, Devin. And folks, once Devin jumps off, we can stay here. But any other thoughts, questions, comments, Devin? Anything? Are you still doing your subscriber thing? That we had talked about back, I don't know, a few months, probably almost a year ago now. Are you still doing your Devin Carroll? People can subscribe to not your YouTube channel, but your
So the membership group. Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I've actually we've closed that for now. And under the current model, that's going to remain closed. So we've got the initial group in there, and in terms of a straight membership group, I'm not going to let anyone else probably come through that door that way. But we do have something else that's about to roll out, and we've got a course that's coming out on Social Security that hopefully should be out pretty soon.
Just in time for them to change it.
No doubt. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. But yeah. So, I appreciate you having me on here. And if, your listeners want to find me on YouTube, it's just devincarroll.com / or it's youtube.com / Devin
And Devin's on Facebook too. And the website, Devin, what's your website?
So Social Security Intelligence is where I blog about Social Security stuff. And also we're going to have a calculator that's coming out. We've been beta testing some Excel versions of calculators. And so we've done enough testing on it now to where we're rolling out a fully programmed version. So we should have that. We had a meeting on it today, in fact. So we hope to see that coming out pretty soon.
And real quick, are you taking you take clients?
Seldom. Yeah. 4 to 6 clients a year.
Okay.
And we just kind of keep up with, any attrition that happens doing that, but it's very seldom. We've actually manned up our staffing in our office, but this area, the media area, is keeping us so busy that this is, if I continue to take new clients on, I'm not going to be able to serve the clients that I have that well. So we've really elevated the minimum criteria to bring new people on. And it's not because we think we're better than anybody. It's just that I'm going to serve the clients that I have and do a fantastic job for them first.
Scarcity, man. Basic economics.
Yeah.
Scarcity. Hey, you should write a book. Look, I'm not writing a book's a pain in the butt. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I tell you, man, the history of Social Security needs to be out there from a nonpartisan person, because we got some people that are writing about Social Security very partisan on both sides. I mean, the Heritage Foundation is on the right, I get that. Most on the left, though, and I think they overlook a lot of stuff, frankly. It'd be interesting to write the history of the FDR, what his arguments were, the Huey Long stuff. I always knew Huey Long. I mean, he was a kind of fascist socialist. We all knew that. But it's interesting that FDR was that was his thing. He, was kind of, look, I've done a video that said FDR saved capitalism. I did a video on that because the socialistic was on the upswing back then, big time. And if it wasn't for FDR giving some things like Social Security, we might not be where we are today. But I think it'd be incredibly. I think it'd be a historic book for you to write. That would I don't know. I just think it'd be well read without question, more than you might think. So if you got the time, and I know you got tons of people around smoking cigarettes all day long, I get it. But if you got the time, that might be something that I'd encourage you to do, man.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. How about if I just leave it there?
We'll see. Right on, man. Devin, thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate it. And, hey, man, the arrow's gonna come. Hey, to speak your mind. That's all you got to do, because the arrows come, and just laugh. It's all fun.
Yep, that's right. All right, Josh. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it, man.
All right, take care.
All right, folks. So that was Devin. Wow. Yeah, we're always gonna push the hard choices down the road. All right, so what I think they talked about the changes to Social Security. Yeah, you got it. We'll see how many people, now that Devin isn't on here, they jump off. They don't want to hear old Josh. They just want to hear Devin. So I'm 50 years old. All right. And just thinking about, for me, 62, I could take it. I'm not. I'm going to take it at 70. But if I'm 50 and I take that 70, that's 18 years. All right. So that'd be 2038. So we'll be well into the Sniffy Joe's changes that come down the pike. Now, the interesting thing is that the Joe Biden administration it's not a huge majority in the House. It's not a huge majority it's not even really a majority in the Senate. There's just not a lot of wiggle room here. Let's not pretend that this is just coming out the pike, that Joe Biden can just ram this through. If I were the Republicans, and I made a video on this 2 years ago, if not 2.5 years ago, I said how Trump and the Republicans can win on Social Security. It was to raise the payroll tax and to change the first bend point. And I just think that if the Republican voter is middle and lower income people, by and large, and entrepreneurs like myself. So the Republican voter is on all those categories of Social Security. You know what I'm saying? But we'll just say the average is about $60,000 a year, with some decently paid entrepreneurs such as myself, and some lower earners, who are already retired. A lot of older people are Republicans. If I were and so they're not paying payroll taxes anymore. So what I would do is I'd say we're going to raise the pay, because you've got to make it so that people pay for the earning benefit they get. You can't just raise the payroll taxes. And I think her name's Nanko said on here that she goes, I would just get rid of the earnings limit. That doesn't do anything, man. It just won't do anything. I don't get, Devin said, and Vinyl, to his credit, he said there's a tiny amount of people that pay. It'll make over $400,000. A tiny amount of people means a tiny amount of revenue that's going to go in the system. That's 100% true. I still hate that idea. Let's get those guys. I guess I'm kind of hypocritical because I'm like, let's get Warren Buffett. Let's make him pay ordinary income tax and just throw it in the general fund. So I kind of battle. I get that. I also want to win politically, and I want the conservatives, not necessarily the Republicans, but the conservatives to win because they're better for America. But we just squandered, on the Republicans, they squandered an opportunity. They did nothing. And now, however, the issue is no one wants to go back to their constituency saying they raise taxes on Social Security or they cut benefits. So the Sniffy Joe is going a fine line there, man. And they're going to a fine line where he's saying, look, we can't fall on one side, which is giving away the store, but we can't fall, which looks like we're cutting benefits either. So we got to go on this fine line. And this is the problem why we're in this position to begin with. However, Sniffy Joe isn't going to run for re-election. And I'm just telling you, if he wants a legacy, I think there are a lot of Republicans will go along with this. And I think there's not that many moderate Democrats in name, but I think there's enough around that say, yeah, what's his name in Illinois? He's not losing his seat. He just won re-election. I forgot the guy who called us Stalin's stormtroopers, the Iraqi war soldiers. Dick Durbin. He's not losing re-election in Illinois. So, and he won't lose the primaries. And I think he just won. I'm just using him for example. He's a guy who could say, look, I'll take one for the team as long as we solidify Social Security, as long as other people do it as well, i.e. bipartisanship. And they're just going to have to raise the payroll tax. That's all there is to it. And they don't need to, who knows anymore. But, my argument was under the old employment numbers that we had before the pandemic reaction, it is Dan 100%. I see my Dan voting system is completely fair. But anyway, so what happens is that they're going to have to raise payroll taxes to get commitment for people to work. If you say at the end of the day you can just keep going to work, but we're not going to increase your taxes for a higher benefit, that's freaking bullcrap. Especially where we're going to turn around and tax those guys. Remember, don't tax you, don't tax me, tax that guy behind the tree. Well, at some point there is no guy behind the tree. And so we got to raise the taxes to pay the increase in benefits. And the Republicans should have been arguing that since day one. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to raise the 25 basis points. But with that said, we're going to raise the first bend point. It's an easy argument to make. Yes, you'll pay more in taxes, a couple extra bucks a paycheck, but you're going to get this as a benefit later on down the road. That's an easy argument to make. Only Republicans are stupid enough not to see the gift horse right there. Oh, my goodness, it's nuts. So I'm not all that worried about it. None of these proposals go through without committee hearings, without a little bit of log rolling is what they call it in political sciences. That they say, look, I do this, you do that. With that said, though, the fact that the Urban Institute said Joe Biden's proposal, even with raising the taxes, getting rid of the payroll tax for anyone who makes over $400,000, even that will only increase in 5 years. And the Urban Institute's far left. So that just tells you it's a big fat nothing burger. That's not going to solidify anything. A universal benefit. I mean, there's an incentive to work more for Social Security. I mean, look, I've done videos that said there's no reason to keep working once you got your 35 years. But there is an incentive to keep working. Because if you have 30 years in and, a couple of those years you were washing dishes or waiting, washing dishes, being a bar back, you weren't making that much money. You work a couple extra years, making good money. You can replace those years you didn't make much if you have goose eggs or a low income with higher earnings. And that will give you a bigger benefit, that's for sure. However, if you've been working 35 years and you've been making decent money the whole time, working a couple extra years doesn't do anything. You're just paying FICA tax for nothing. So don't do that. But you want to encourage people to work, man. That's working is a moral thing. It's a good thing. And not to encourage people to work through universal income, basic income and stuff is a bad thing. It's frustrating because I'm sitting there thinking, you wonder how this is going to shake out. I'm not so sure I agree with the getting rid of the GPO and the windfall elimination provision either. I mean, I don't like that. I'd like to see how that shakes out, but I don't like the idea of just taxing these people and then they don't get an increase in benefit. I don't think that's good, unless there's something that goes with it. I.e., I don't know what it would be, frankly. I don't know. Let's see here. So let's see some comments. Increase the 30. So no, Chuck, that's not what we want to do. That's a good observation. But remember, if they increase the 35 years for AIME, that's going to increase your AIME, which would increase your benefit too. So that would be what I was actually thinking the opposite. What they would want to do is decrease the 35 years to 30, because don't forget, you work 40 years, 5 years you pay for Social Security, but it doesn't go into your AIME. You see what I'm saying? And that's actually, I hope Devin didn't think I was bashing on the guy. I just said where Devin was wrong on Social Security. That was a bad. I mean, so I don't think he thought that. But I want to be clear. Devin is one of my go-to guys on Social Security. But when he says, I was giving him slack, I wasn't giving him slack on. I was giving him slack and other people on slack when they looked at the Social Security trustees report. There are three things in there. There's a low, the intermediate, and the high. And the high is essentially high unemployment, but high inflation and high interest rates. Low is low unemployment, low inflation, and low interest rates. All right. So and then the intermediate is what we're using. So the low was where we were back in the Trump era. We had low employment, low interest rates, low unemployment, and low interest rates, and low inflation. Now, the low interest rates hurt the trust fund, but the low unemployment helped it, I would argue, more so than the low interest rates. And the low inflation did too. So of the three things, one was a negative, but two were positives. Well, that's all been blown up now. I mean, who the hell knows where it's going to be now? I mean, it's insane. Man, so we don't want to increase the 35 years for AIME because that simply means you get more into your AIME calculation. We want to, if you're going to do that, you're going to decrease the years. So you only get 30 years of AIME. In fact, that's probably the best way to do it, frankly. If you want to kind of reduce the upside of the wealthy, we say, look, the top 30 years will go into AIME. That's it. We'll index them for inflation with the average wage index, and then we'll divide by 30 times 12, 360, right? So we'll divide by 360, and that will be your benefit. I have to think that through a little bit, but that would be probably the way to do it, because you'll still work 40 years. Look, even if I didn't pay into Social Security, I like work. Work makes me something. A lot of men need work. It makes them who they are. And I know there's women out there who do. I know, trust me. But I'm just saying, as a man, which is what I am, a man is put on this world to raise his children as a dad and to work. That's what a man is here to do. A man is not here to freaking sit around the shovel board. I'm just telling you right now. A man is not here to freaking, show YouTube your new yacht and your new freaking fancy good time rock and roll house. That's not what a man is. Man is supposed to work, man. All there is to it. And that doesn't mean just freaking, digging holes. That just means using his mind, being a shiny YouTube star. I'm almost at 50,000 subscribers. Ooh, I'm a YouTube star. Either way, a man is supposed to work. And so just because your Social Security stops at 35 years doesn't mean you stop working. You're still going to pay into it, man. And so if you work 45 or 50 years, well, 10 or 15 years of your labor don't get calculated your Social Security benefit. So you pay 6.2 on both sides as an employer, as I am, as an employee, as I am. So I pay 12.4 on both sides, so I won't get any credit for it. Well, that sucks. But guess what? I'm still going to work because work makes me something that I get. I got a beautiful, and I got 4 kids and two little dogs. At the end of the day, if I don't work, I'll need something, because that's what we're here to do. So we want to encourage work for sure, but we also want to reward people who work who might not have otherwise worked. But part 2 of that, we also want to make sure that we don't discourage work by saying, you have a limited amount of Social Security benefit you're going to get. I really, someone here, I forgot who it was, said we need to really clamp down on saving in 401k and IRA. I'm telling you, man, this just goes more to be poor on paper. I cannot stress this enough. I'm telling you right now, if Social Security you're relying on as a big source of your retirement income, which I am, because look, and I think Vinyl said it right. They're not cutting the benefits. They're not cutting Social Security benefits. They're just not. I mean, not, in the next, not for the next, freaking, 2 generations of recipients and soon to be recipients. They're not going to benefit cut. Just not happening. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to be poor on paper, because if they do means test it, which is probably, they're not going to give a universal, who knows? I don't know anymore, but it'll be means tested, I would think, more than universal benefit. And so means tested means if you have more means, you get less benefit. Well, how do you not have more means? By having less taxable income. Your 1040 shows less taxable income. Be poor on paper, amigos. That's Spanish for friends. Be poor on paper. So stop. Now, every situation is different. I'm just telling you. Stop this incessant, I got to save and get a tax deduction. I was talking to a guy either today or yesterday. I forgot, a client. And I said, stop. Who was that? I forgot. Maybe it wasn't a client. It was, oh, no. Anyway, I won't say. I was talking to somebody else. It wasn't a client. It was someone else was asking about tax questions for one of their clients. I said, you got to tell her to stop contributing to her IRA, because she only made $25,000 a year. And I said, she was putting in $7,000. I said, stop. You're not getting hardly any tax deduction at all. And all you're doing is you're going to increase your taxable income in the future when you're on Social Security. Stop doing that. You're not getting any benefit at all. And I can't remember are IRA deductions above the line. I think they are, right? They're above the line. Anyone know? I can't remember. That's right. I deserve the Nobel Prize, except I voted for Trump, so I'm not eligible, right? Does anyone knows our Vinyl? Is Vinyl still here? Anyone know our IRA deductions? No. Okay, right on. So all right. So there you go. I forgot. So IRA deductions are below the line, which means it's after you take your So you get your 25,000. This lady's single. I think she's over. I can't remember. So anyway, her standard deduction is 13,000 roughly. So it's $25,000 minus her standard deduction. She's not getting deduction on her IRA, if that makes sense, because her standard deduction is bigger than her IRA deduction, if that makes sense. IRA adjustment to income, but it's below, right? So I mean, it's you. Yeah, I just remember when I was doing this. If it's a below the line, if your IRA was less than your standard deduction and all of the other deductions too, your property tax and things of that nature, then you would get then you wouldn't deduct it because it's below the standard deductions, below the line, if that makes sense. I think that's still the case, actually. Anyway, so in this case, she wasn't getting a deduction because she did not have a big enough deduction to offset her standard deduction. So by her putting in money, essentially is a post-tax deduction, but it wasn't like that because it still went in pre-tax, which meant when it comes out post-tax, stupid. It's not, well, it's an itemized deduction, but not if your standard deduction is higher than your itemized deductions. That's what I'm saying. And so that's the thing with it above the line. Above the line means it's before you take your standard or your itemized deduction. So in this case, it's not a deductible expense because her standard deduction is higher than her itemized deductions. Hope that makes sense. I don't know. They could tax IRAs, Roth IRA gains only. That could happen. I mean, that could happen. Absolutely. If you have a certain income, I get that 100%. If you want to be pessimistic, you might consider what happens to Social Security if the politicians don't have to worry about any repercussions since they control the. Well, I tell you, you go back to what's his name channel, freaking Steve Crowder today, and you can't. No, I don't think that's how it works, John. I don't think that's how it works. That would be an above the line deduction. I don't think that's it. I think the IRA is a below the line, which means you don't get both, unless they change the law. And they didn't under TCJA, so I don't think they did. Now, there's one that's I think it's there was one that was a relatively new above the line deduction, but it wasn't IRA. I forgot what it was. Janet Yellen wants to tax unrealized capital gains. Yeah, I saw that. I saw someone was it Devin? No, it was my man, the CPA guy. What's his name, man? Money in Life TV. I forgot his name. Something the CPA guy. And I interviewed him. Mike the CPA. That's what it was. Mike the CPA out of California. Big fan. I interviewed him a long time ago. Money in Life TV. He talked about Biden's proposal. Is actually proposing 401k contributions not come off above the line and only be a 26% credit for all. Okay. So basically 401ks are above the line. HSAs are above the line. That means you get the adjustment against income before they even figure out if it's a standard or a line item, or standard or an itemized. Exactly. She just said it today, Janet Yellen. Man, isn't it funny how far left the Democrats have gone? I mean, they even asked Merrick Garland today, said, "Hey, dude, what do you think about illegal immigrants?" He goes, I haven't really thought about it. You're like, you haven't thought about illegal immigration. That just is crazy how far left they've gone. I don't get it, man. Like, what? It's the weirdest thing. And so if Janet Yellen's talking about taxing unrealized capital gains, I see this is the whole. I mean, I'm glad they're out in the open now, but like somebody say here, if the votes don't matter, let's see here. Jeremy, her case of Roth would be much better. She shouldn't do a pre-tax IRA. Yeah, I mean, frankly, even if she got the deduction, which she won't, but even if she did, she shouldn't do it because her tax brackets are so low as it is. She's making $25,000 gross income. You know what I'm saying? Her taxable income is what, $12,500? That's at, so single taxpayer, the first, $10,000 is taxed at 10%. The next, $2,500 is taxed at 12%. Stop with this idea that the tax deduction is beneficial to you. Do you not know what you're doing, folks? You're saying, I'm going to take a tiny sliver of a tax deduction today so I can walk into that buzzsaw of the future. And we just talked with Devin. We just talked about it. It's coming. They're going to raise revenue and they're going to be means tested. Well, you know what's not means tested? Well, as we say here today, at least, is VTI in a taxable account. It pays no capital gains whatsoever, none, because of somehow some patent the Vanguard has on their ETS, which is awesome. But on top of that, it pays very limited dividends and no interest income. So when you have unless stupid Janet Yellen taxes unrealized gains, then we're all screwed. But I mean, stop with this obsession. I got to get every deduction I can. I'm telling you, it's not worth it, man. It's not. You're going to want to be poor on paper. And poor on paper, guys, just means you have your under current tax law. And that's all you can do. We haven't seen any legislation. We haven't seen any committee meetings. We haven't seen anything pass in the House or the Senate, go to a committee, nothing going on Sniffy Joe's desk. Haven't seen anything. So we can only deal with what we can deal with, which is what we have today. So right now, if you have everything in an IRA and VTI, taxable VTI, and everything in a Roth IRA, let's just say, you got 500,000 in VTI, which is what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for 500,000 in VTI. So you have Social Security, 500,000 in VTI, and that's the total stock index, by the way, and that pays a 2% dividend. That's $10,000 of qualified dividend tax. All right. Yeah. All right. That's $10,000 of qualified dividends. On top of that, you got everything else in a Roth. If you had a Roth, all right, you don't even have to. And then you have Social Security. So between my better half, my ball and chain, and I will get probably $4,500 a month in Social Security. So $4,500 a month is $54,000 plus my $10,000 of dividends off VTI. Not one penny is taxable, amigos. That's Spanish, by the way. The plural of Spanish. Not one penny is, and amigas, if you're going that route, if you're not quite sure what side of the ledger you are, we can use both, amigo or amigas. You know what I'm saying? Because you might be in transition, but not one side of that is taxable. $54,000 a year. No one can live off $54,000 a year, Josh. Well, hell, they do, because the median household income today is about $65,000. of which they're paying 7.65 on FICA, and they're paying some federal income tax and state income tax on top of that. Never mind 401k contributions. So the hells we can't live off $54,000, especially if you have no mortgage. You certainly can. And so if you got $1 million in VTI, you know, I don't expect to ever have that, but let's just say I did. Well, your old buddy Josh has 2%, $20,000 a year in ordinary qualified dividends from VTI, $54,000 in Social Security. That's $64,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month. No mortgage. You know, got a bunch of money sitting in cash. I sell this big monstrosity of my house. Well, my house isn't all that big, but I mean, it's not a mansion. Hell, it's 32 square foot, 3,200 square feet. I mean, it's big. Certainly bigger than what we had in New Jersey, but you know, it's not like freaking McMansion. It's just a house for 6 people and 2 dogs. But anyway, but this house right now will sell that puppy downsized to a 3 bed, 2 bath. Let's say $300,000. All this, the excess equity, you know, this is my goal. This is what I'm planning on now. It doesn't mean it's going to come to fruition. Put that in freaking, you know, money market account. It's paying another 1%. Let's just say I have $400,000 of equity. At 1%, if my lump of coal, that's $4,000 and interest there. Or you do a reverse mortgage, tax-free income coming back at you. That's poor on paper, babies. And you're living, and then you can do reverse mortgage. Let's say you have a $300,000 home, you do a reverse mortgage. We'll just say it's $150,000. That's what you have. That's what you can take. And we're going to save a 5.5% distribution on $150,000. That's another $8,000 a year. All right, so we got $8,000 a year reverse mortgage, $10,000 a year on qualified dividends for VTI, another $4,000 a year on my money market account. Now I forgot what all that was. That's like $24,000 plus my $54,000 in Social Security. Now I'm living on 5 plus 2 is $76,000 a year. I can get by on that, dude. No problem. No problem. Now, I'm not Sniffy Joe. I don't need 10% for the big guy. You know what I'm saying? RMD works. I think someone answered that, but someone asked my question. Ed Foxtrot says, how does RMD work on stock IRA? December 31st, they say, what's the account value, Ed? It's $2.8 billion. You divide that by 27.4. If you know that's what the first year of the RMD table is, and whatever that number is, that's how much you got to take out. That's how much you got to take out. I forgot my YouTube money. Oh, my YouTube money, right? Exactly. I'll be like, what's his name? Graham Stephen making, how much that guy make? Some crazy amount of money. Yeah, so you get no employer match with your TSP. So then you got to wonder, is it worth doing it, frankly? And I would encourage people to think no on the front end. Kind of like I say, you always want to consider that the Roth you should do, convince yourself not to do it. Same thing with not doing your TSP. If there's no match, what's the benefit here? Now, again, I don't know Jeremy's circumstance, but dude, the hell, man? Is it too late for you, Eric? You got to go night-night? Got you some sleep? Too late? Dude, you're in Wisconsin, baby. I'm freaking in Georgia, 10:15. I'm still up. Jeez. I remember partying with Eric. I'm trying to pound down another 18-pack of Coors. Eric's like, I got to go to bed. I got to work tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, I got to work tomorrow too. I'll be half lit when I go in the job. That's why I gave up 5/25/27. Yeah, right here. Jill says $54K for a couple is great with no mortgage. I live on about 30. Exactly. Eric, you know, he did say something. Invest in clean energy. I actually think that's a way to reduce your expenses is solar. I don't know why people think I'm anti-PV. I'm not anti. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy and wise. It's funny because I was late to bed, early to rise, and I was not healthy. I was not wealthy, and I certainly wasn't wise, if you know what I'm saying. Who wants to have a financial advisor? Boy, someone just said that right there. That was before I was being a financial advisor. I was not a financial advisor back in the day. Look, I hadn't had a drink of alcohol since May 25th, 1997. Not that anyone's counting, so that was a long time ago. I wonder why I lose viewers. Laugh aloud. Yeah, Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work, Mark. Mark says, doesn't the VTI patent expire in 2021? I don't think the tax advantages will be lost. I just think that other people will be open to do their ETFs with the same opportunity as Vanguard, frankly. How would a person determine whether or not converting an IRA to Roth makes financial sense? A break-even point of paying tax now. You need to read my book, which is... well, here's the old cover. There's the old cover. That's the cover I came up with. That's my white trash cover right there. The Tax Bomb in Your Retirement Accounts. That's the book you got to read. And someone, that guy right there, names it all, how you can determine that for sure. Once the mortgage is gone, it's easy. I completely agree. That's why I can't wait to have no mortgage. I can't imagine. All right, let's see here. So we'll go through a couple more. DG, I'm not sure what DG investing is. If you have 5 million to be collecting but I'm not gonna have 5 million. It is legalized. Dope is, New Jersey is look. I've been arguing for a long time with legalizing all, not just freaking dope, but the whole damn thing. But it's funny, the same people who are legalizing marijuana are cracking down on your civil liberties. So they can all kiss my big fat behind. That's all I gotta say, man. These guys are freaking nuts, man. We're gonna legalize an ounce of freaking marijuana. Wow, I'm free, but we're gonna crack down on your ability to live a normal life. And America's gonna go along with it to deal with the virus. No one finds it odd that the flu is completely gone. No flu is just gone, magically disappeared. No one's talking about a flu vaccine, but they always do. Just magically, the happy land, the flu just disappears. Because we're wearing masks and we're social distancing, Josh. Don't you understand? Because then why wasn't COVID going away? Because we weren't wearing masks enough. We weren't social distancing, Now I'm seeing on my local news today that I try to avoid, except my better half wants it on for background noise. They said, oh, we're doing great now by masks and social distancing. COVID cases are down a third. I was like, so when COVID cases are rising, we weren't doing enough masks and social distancing. COVID cases going down just proves that social distancing and masks work. And they had some clown professor saying, we've eradicated the flu because everyone's been wearing masks and social distancing. We've been trying to tell people for years this is the way to do it. I just want to go through the TV and grab that guy by his neck and just shake him out of his freaking status slumber and pull his head out of his butt and look around him, you big fat fool. You big fat fool. If that worked, then how come COVID is here? Or maybe we're just applying COVID to flu. Could that possibly be, Professor? Look, I'm not the biggest fan of William Buckley, but again, I'd rather be governed by the first 200 names in the Boston phone book than all the professors at Harvard 100 times out of 100. I'm just like, dude, you guys are freaking so stupid. It's insanely embarrassing. Oh, we've been saying it because you know what they're leading now. Well, every winter now we're gonna have to mask up and social distance because that keeps the flu at bay. Just this freaking nuts, dude. These guys, there's never going back unless you make it come back. And you can't make it come back with Mike DeWines of the world. I mean, I think there's 38 states that mandate masks. If memory serves, Republicans have governorships in 27 states, which inherently means that there's many Republican governor states that are mandating masks. And they can all kiss my big fat behind. Freaking mandated masks. You got no right to tell me what to wear, you freaking idiots. That pisses me off. But Josh, you got to get a driver's license, don't you? People don't see the difference. People don't see the difference in this. Freaking morons. Oh, it just infuriates me. But Jill, it'll never end. It'll never end because they're going to say, look, this is how we freaking keep, it at bay by masking everybody up. So if we want everyone to stay safe, because what will happen is still people are going to get the flu and die, but they won't call it that. They'll call it something else. This is what's going on right now. We know for a fact this is what's happening. I mean, they've said it. The public health authorities have said it. But yet people refuse to hear. It's crazy. It's crazy. I just sit there and I'm astonished how willingly people are to say, yeah, I don't need to travel to this state right here. And you're like, you're okay with that? Well, as long as it keeps people safe. Okay. Yeah, exactly. You can't stop. It's crazy. But medical doctors wear it when they're doing surgeries. Oh my goodness, I can't. I feel like it's like a Twilight Zone. It's like Groundhog Day. Every day I wake up the same damn arguments, and we have to say the same damn thing every single time. And not a damn person is talking about increasing your immune. I will tell you that we'll stop here, but I'm going to tell you, I do worry that the immune system is going to be so down. There is going to be a big pandemic. I was listening to my man Dave Cullen over at Computing Forever on BitChute. He voluntarily gave up his YouTube channel. I think it's still out there, but he's like, I'm not going back. They banned him. They try to get him back. Anyway, long story short, he did a video. I think did I send that to, I can't remember, but he said, I actually agree with this. He goes, look, because our immune systems are so compromised, because people aren't going outside, people aren't getting the fresh air, vitamin D, people aren't interacting, people are so sterile. We can't touch anything because, oh, heaven forbid, we have germs or bacteria. Our immune systems are so sterile that there will be a real virus. I completely agree with this, man. I think there's gonna be one that comes and ravishes people. I don't know when, but I think that's right. And it never occurred to me like that. I mean, you cannot destroy nature. You just can't. You can't. And as such, nature it doesn't go away. But your body, you can help get it in good shape to fight off the stuff that wants to kill you. But not if you're sitting at home in a pure panic, because don't forget, stress is a great way to reduce your immune system, man, without question. Not getting a good night's sleep, stressed out. This person was telling me today, again, the other person goes, she knows a couple people at her work that have refused to leave the house for months on end. Refused to leave the house for months on end. That's their immune system is shot to hell, man. And so when a real virus comes around that does deadly damage, that's not a 99.8% survival rate, it's going to be ugly because the reason, I mean, it only inherently makes sense. I mean, there's Darwinism in some regard here, and I don't want to go too far more than that because you can think about that. Let's just say it like that. And what happens is the people who didn't get Darwined from this first wave of this, basically first wave are going to get smoked when the bad one comes behind it. You know what I'm saying? Because the bad one it's not going to take any prisoners because you're already suspect, man. Your immune system is destroyed. And you're living in fear, and you can't like run from this, man. It's crazy. It's gonna get you. And if your immune system is good to go, you're probably gonna be okay. If your immune system is bad, you're probably not. And unfortunately, you have an immune system that's gonna be dropping like frickin' water, and people think they're being safe. It's sad. It's actually quite sad. And Darwinism is gonna come and take them out first because they're not prepared to deal for the second wave that's gonna come inherently. And all the masks, all the social distancing, all the hazmat suits, you can't stop this. I don't get this infatuation. I don't get it, man. It's the weirdest flipping thing. And frankly, it's still, I wish it didn't frustrate as much. I wish I could get to a stage like some of these guys say, hey, people are just, they're going to live in fear. There's nothing to do about it. I can't be that way, man. I'm just like, this is nuts. And I probably some point I will be, and I shouldn't let other people's worry bother me so deeply. But I'm sitting there thinking, I just don't get why. I guess it's because I know so much Russian history about the and Chinese. And, just watching, I was watching the video on the Nikolai Cuscu from Romania. Him and his wife got shot, got executed. The communist tyrants, they got taken out. But he was freaking the commie ruler for like 25 years in Romania. You see what I'm saying? And I mean, how many people's lives were ruined in that time before he, got faced with a bullet up against the wall? Mussolini, same thing. I mean, how many people's lives were ruined because of, the government, the state is everything, as Mussolini said. And it's like I don't get it. Americans we should do better, but yet we're not. It's nuts. But all right. Yeah, no, right, 100%, Dan. They're going to come to your house and check at 100%. It's coming. The social credit score is frankly really already here. It's just not as obvious yet. But if you say the wrong thing on YouTube, on Facebook, or at work, I did find it somewhat happy that there's a big backlash to stupid Robin DiAngelo and Coca-Cola. That makes me pretty happy. So they've taken down the stupid Robin DiAngelo LinkedIn Learning. Apparently, that's good. And I have a sneaky suspicion a lot more whistleblowers are going to be on the lookout for Robin DiAngelo's crap, her racist crap, into other corporate America stuff. So let's say you work for Texas Instruments and they bring freaking Robin DiAngelo. There are going to be more and more whistleblowers say, no, she's coming to our work, and Texas Instruments say, no, that's good. I think Robin DiAngelo now is starting to get the scent of the beast, which is finally, because why is a white woman making bank off? I've never understood. Why is a white woman doing this? I know the clown Kendi X. I mean, the guy's a clown. I mean, I just ignore that guy. I would love to ignore Robin DiAngelo, but for some reason, white people love this woman to say how guilty they are, and they love her. Basically, it's like freaking what's it? S&M, that was called sadomasochist. I'm talking about South Park with Mr. Slave and Mr. Garrison and Mr. Slave. It's like S&M and like we are slave, and Robin DiAngelo's like whipping us. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, and I don't get why people are so Robin, just whip me more. Whip me more. It's crazy, man. It's like it's the weirdest thing, but there's a decent enough pushback from the Coca-Cola crap that I think that Robin DiAngelo will not be welcome in a lot of places now, and hopefully she goes bankrupt because hopefully she spent all that money on big fancy houses in Greece and whatnot, and hopefully she won't be able to pay it. Part two of that, though, is seeing on LinkedIn get taking that down. That's a good sign. So I'm happy. There seems to be a backlash. At least, maybe it's just my set here, but at least there's a backlash enough that people say, no, yeah, we're white. Yeah, we take something, but we're not taking this. This is a line too far. We can't. I remember I posted a thing on my. I'll see if I can't find it. It's actually kind of funny. There's let me find my community page. Yeah, by the way, just watch Crowder's thing today. It was pretty scary, man, about the voting. So I posted a thing right here. Middlebury's opportunity to facilitate the demilitarization of white bodies. And it says, basically, the quote was, whiteness must be demilitarized so that bodies designated as white might become human. It's insanely racist. It's frankly just stupid. Why would you send any kid to Middlebury College if that's what they're voting? But one guy said, one of the trolls always say, so you're really starting with the white fright now. The white fragility, the white fear. I said, look, dude, I hate to say it, but I think I'm a human being. And this clown college is saying we got to demilitarize ourselves in order to be human. Does that not remind you of another group of people who we used to say they weren't human with just the whole thing's crazy. It's crazy. It's funny, but scary in a way. So it's good to see some pushback here. That's good, because it used to be if you said anything in defense of white people, you're inherently friggin' Hitler. It's crazy. Now people are like, nah, I'm done with this. So I'm good. I'm happy for that. Now I'm sure this will get banned here, but you can't have this crap. You can't have racism. It's bad. Racism is evil. And if you are a person who loves Jesus, you shouldn't be racist. It's just that simple. And that also means don't be racist to white people. Crazy, huh? It's so crazy, it just might work. All right, I'm going to get on out of here, my friends. We're not doing a live stream tomorrow because my man Amar, his mom got COVID, as a matter of fact. And so he wants to make sure she's doing okay. And so we won't do the live stream manana. I might do one myself anyway. We'll see. But Amar won't be on board. I like live streams, but we shall see. But hang tight. Let me know if you're on here. I mean, if you're on here tomorrow, I'll do it. But we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, check around 12 or so. I might do a live stream, a Q&A live stream, but we shall see. Appreciate y'all being here. And don't forget to subscribe to Devin's channel. I'm sure you already are, but Devin Carroll YouTube channel. All right, we'll see you guys.